Alaska, the final frontier as many call it. Out of all places I can see people vanishing with no hope of being found, Alaska is surely on top of that list. With so many factors coming into play out in the wilderness, it's no wonder why these missing people cases from state, national, and provincial parks are shrouded in so much mystery. No matter what theory you may have as to why these people are vanishing in alarming numbers from these parks, we can all agree that it is definitely a creepy phenomenon. Today, I am going to be covering a few of the strangest missing people's cases from Alaskan State and national parks. If you have a case that you'd like to see on the channel in a future video, be sure to comment down below or send it in to the website or the email that you can find in the description down below. I'd love to see what you have. Number 1. Thomas Siebold, Arctic National Park. Thomas Siebold was a very experienced backpacker and outdoorsman. Thomas trained for 6 years under the Talking Drum Outdoor School. He was also an instructor at the school with classes of his own. Safe to say, Thomas could handle himself outdoors if need be. Described as a free-wandering spirit by his former boss, Thomas sent off on a trip through the Alaskan wilderness in mid-2012. He began his trek at a fishing settlement in the southeastern area of the Alaskan State. He made his way up north following the Tanana River, using his survivalist skills to live off the land as he went. Around September, Thomas arrived in Ambler, Alaska. After the stop, he made his way to the cabin of a mentor his school had recently put him in contact with. Traveling up the Ambler River to do so, he arrived to meet her and her 13-year-old son. The cabin was located around the Brooks Range area, which is a little outside of the Arctic National Park. This park is the second largest park in the United States, boasting nearly 8.5 million acres within its borders. Arctic National Park is also the northernmost park in the country. To make this park even more remote and isolated, there are no roads within the park itself, as it is deemed too remote and untraveled for them to be paved. On the day of September 27, 2012, Thomas set off into the park and was never seen again. Family and friends were expecting to hear back from Thomas around the end of October. After hearing nothing, even after the cutoff date they set, being November 10th, and having missed a flight on November 15th, they began to get worried. Alaskan State officials were alerted on the 11th of November, and search was quickly put into action. Search teams combed the Ambler River and Ulanique Creek conjunction thoroughly. They had a hunch Thomas may have built a camp in the area. Initially, officials were confident in finding Thomas. Thomas has done trips through the brutal northern Alaskan wilderness before, taking numerous hunting and camping trips out there. That confidence began to weigh thin after search and rescue teams found Thomas's diary, a large amount of his equipment, and a .22 caliber rifle in the cabin. Unfortunately, due to some nasty weather conditions, there were no trace of where he went. These conditions also made it very hard on the search teams, making the daylight hours short. Snowmobiles and other helpful equipment could not be used due to the low snow levels. In one last hurrah, Alaskan State officials put one last effort into a large-scale search for Thomas. Multiple types of planes were used to assist searchers from the air around the highlands. After searching for some time, a circle drawn into a gravel bar on the Ambler River was spotted. Now, officials couldn't be sure, but they theorized it could be an O from an SOS. Unfortunately, though, they never were able to connect the dots back to Thomas. After 13 days of searching, officials ended their search on the 24th of November, due to weather conditions getting too unpredictable. The family, however, did privately contract a few of the pilots previously working on the case, but, until this day, Thomas is still missing. This case is one of the most controversial cases in Alaskan history, though. many criticized the state officials for seemingly not putting much effort beyond air search. A man by the name of Rico DeWild, who lived near the area of the search, had mentioned locals weren't even made aware of the missing man. DeWild claims officials refused to work with the natives. The natives know the area and how to find people in these areas better than anyone else. This is just speculation, though. Despite the controversial details around the search for Thomas Siebold, it is important to note a few key details about his disappearance. 1. Residents in the area had shared stories with Thomas about the area's wildlife and landmarks. Thomas also had read a few books on the area as well, so this could set a motive to where he was going. Number 2. When Thomas left the cabin, he gave the owner a book titled The Last Light Breaking by Nick Jans. There was an extra worn section of the book describing the same area mentioned before. 3. There was a map found with a missing piece torn from it. This piece was none other than the same local area he was reading, studying, and planning on to survive in. I think these 3 bits of information put together can make a motive and where he may have gone missing. Did Thomas Siebold get lost while hiking? Did he get injured and stuck in the elements? We may never know, but hopefully one day we will find answers and closure for the friends, family, and researchers who have tried so hard to find him. Number 2. Sharon Buse, Mount Roberts, Alaska. Juneau, Alaska, is home to the scenic views of Mount Roberts. Many people come to the area to take in its beautiful environment and hike the great trails they have. On May 24, 2014, Juneau resident and physical therapist Sharon Buse went out on the Mount Roberts trails to hike. Sharon was an experienced hiker who had recently returned from an ice camping trip in Greenland. She has trekked through much of the Alaskan and Canadian wilderness. Unfortunately, Sharon did not leave any information as to where she was going or when she would return. Ann Johnson, a longtime close friend who hiked with Sharon, reported her missing to the police after allegedly missing a scheduled hike together at Hawthorne Peak. The group was supposed to set out for the peak at 9 a.m., but Sharon never showed up. Thinking this was out of character of her friend, Johnson reported her missing to the police. Being the good friend she was, though, Ann could not get over this gut feeling that something was wrong. Ann drove around all day until around 9:30 p.m. where she found Sharon's car at Mount Roberts Trailhead parking area. Local search and rescue teams were coordinated by the Alaskan State Troopers. Many organizations such as the Alpine Club, U.S. Coast Guard, Juneau Mountain Rescue, dog teams, and more all banded together to search for Sharon. After countless searches all over the area, searchers were growing more and more tired. A quote from the searchers: "We've been all over those hillsides, and again, assessing where it's likely she's been. We have been thoroughly searching the area, and we've searched and double-searched areas outside of that, and then searched again areas that she could have been, but it isn't likely. Even those areas have been double-checked." As mentioned before, many resources were used in an effort to find Sharon. Search dogs, ground teams, FLIR technology, and more. Despite all this, though, it seems no one has seen any sign of Sharon Buse ever since. Number 3. Kevin OKeefe, Glacier Bay National Park. In 2018, there are seemingly fewer and fewer places of complete isolation. Well, Alaska stands as one of those few places even till this day. Imagine Alaska back in 1985, though, when most of the state was wild and unexplored. Well, in September 1985, Kevin OKeefe was alone in the Glacier Bay National Park. Glacier Bay is a beautiful park located on the southeastern coastline of Alaska. Full of cold tundra and mountains, there is never a shortage of picturesque views here. Keith, was an experienced outdoorsman like most others we covered in this series. He was visiting the park all the way from Sacramento, California. He arrived in the Juneau area on the 20th of September. After that, he took a float plane to Muir Inlet, just north of Wolf Point, to begin his trip. Almost 2 weeks later, National Park Ranger David Nemeth and his partner found O'Keefe's tent, though they found it a bit odd that his tent was so close to the high tide line. They also found various pieces of debris strewn about the area. Initially, they believed the hiker could be out doing a hike, since it was the daytime, so they left the site alone for the time being, planning on coming back the following day to make contact with O'Keefe. The next day, the Rangers returned to the site, but noticed there was no sign of life. The tent was untouched from the previous day, and there were no signs of footprints or anything to show that there had been someone there at all. The Rangers left and contacted the Alaskan State troopers for extra assistance in searching for the hiker. The Rangers quickly discovered the campsite belonged to Kevin O'Keefe and contacted his family. They learned he was planning on returning on October 10th. The family confirmed he would be taking short hikes through the day and not travel at night. Rangers found supplies at several locations around the site, including food, sleeping bag, and backpack, as well as his day pack, seemingly showing he had not left the area for a day walk. It looks like Kevin seemingly just vanished, but officials also found his boots, a hat, and glove liner a couple of 100 yards from his campsite. These are very essential items to have in the cold landscape of Alaska. Rangers could not find any sign of a bear attack or any kind of animal. Besides, most bears wouldn't be roaming around this time of year anyway. The strange disappearance of Kevin O'Keefe remains unsolved to this day. What happened to him? Was he disturbed while sleeping? Maybe lost his way on a day hike? Hopefully one day we will find answers. But out in the cold tundra of Alaska, that might not ever happen. Thanks for watching this video. These cases are truly odd and have me scratching my head thinking of possible answers. Ultimately, we can only try to piece together what happened to these folks. There are so many reasons that could help us make so much more sense of these cases that seemingly will forever remain unknown. Whether you struggle from mental illness or just have an affinity for hiking the great outdoors, please always be careful out there, and just know you're not alone and help is always here. If you enjoyed these cases, please be sure to give this video a like, as it helps me out a lot. If you're new to the swamp, why not subscribe and turn on notifications to never miss another video? I upload new videos almost every single day, and all things natural and supernatural. If you have a story, experience, or a case that you would like to see on the channel in the future, be sure to send it in to the email or the website that you can find in the description down below. I'd love to see what you have. See you guys soon with another creepy video.